15th. Welcome to Looped In with Maritza. My name is Maritza Gertie, the Pennsylvania delegate for the National Parents Union. The National Parents Union had graciously allowed me to have this platform to speak upon things that pertain to the state of Pennsylvania, specifically Philadelphia, which is the city where I reside. This is going to be a very special show for me because I'm going to be having more than one guest. We're going to talk about things that I feel are very important to be talked about in this day and time. And hopefully you will express some interest as well as I'm talking to my special guest. My first guest is a person that I've known in the education advocacy field across the city and across the state. I'm going to bring her on today to talk about the organization that she is currently a part of, as well as talk about anything that I know she has experience in dealing with, working through, talking about providing solutions and effecting change. Please allow me to introduce our very special first guest, Quabilla Divine. Welcome to the show. I think you're on mute. Oh, there you
Good
go.
afternoon. How are you, Maritza?
I'm so very well. Please tell our audience about yourself, because I mean, I have your bio here, but I would like you to tell us about you.
Well, I am Quabilla Divine. I reside in North Philadelphia by choice, born and raised there, and about, I guess, a few years after I graduated from college, decided that I wanted to move back there to make a positive difference, become a role model for those children and their families that are there, and started my own nonprofit organization because I noticed that children were not learning the way teachers were teaching them. And in serving the children, realized that we also have to serve the families. And so working with my sister, she started a organization called Parent Power.
Yeah.
And what we do is help parents understand their rights, roles, and responsibilities to be actively engaged in their children's education. I currently work for an organization called Self Incorporated. It stands for Strengthening and Empowering Lives and Futures. And what we do here, we're Philadelphia's largest homeless organization. We provide emergency and temporary housing for homeless individuals, both males and females. We service about 700 individuals each day, providing not only sleeping quarters, but also breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay. And the homelessness situation in the city of Philadelphia, I think, became further exacerbated with this quarantine. Can you tell us how that's, in your opinion, how that's affected your agency and other agencies that also do the same kind of work?
Well, what we see, and Maritza, I'm sure you've been down to 23rd and the Parkway and you saw the encampment. There are about 150 families, individuals, males, females, there with tents. They have food and they're just kind of living there. And unfortunately, I've heard that they're going to be closing that encampment this week. So what happens in that particular situation is that those individuals have to go someplace. And our organization has been tasked with striving to find places for them to go. We have an outreach team that goes down and speaks to the individuals and the families that are, well, individuals, because we only service individuals. So they've gone down to talk to the individuals there in order to see whether or not they want to be placed in a situation where they can stay overnight and continuously, because it's not, we have night by night stays, which is our after hours program, but we also have a stay where you stay for pretty much as long as you want. There are some conditions with that, but there's really not many limitations to that.
Yes.
And so we've been, tasked with striving to find out, are you interested? Do you want to really be placed someplace? Do you want to come off the street and go inside? But what we have to remember is that there are individuals who have been homeless for a while and they're used to doing things their way. And coming inside a shelter may mean that there are rules and regulations that they have to follow, and they don't always want to follow them. So what works best is for them to be placed in permanent housing.
Yes.
So there's a lot of funds that are coming through federal government that would allow the city to provide that type of assistance. So we're going to see just how that works.
Yeah, because one thing that I noticed, and my husband noticed as well, when everything occurred with, we've seen the areas across the city where adults have chosen, through no fault of their own, but they have purposely said, listen, I'm going to set up a tent right here. This is where I'm going to stay. Sometimes this is where I feel safer than being in a shelter environment. But we noticed also that when those stimulus checks were being sent out to people across the city, they would buy a car and live out of the car. And I thought that was very, it saddened me, but that they'd rather do that than go into a shelter situation, because they may say, I don't want to deal with all the rules and regulations. I don't want to be told, although it may be a safer environment or not, that I have to be in by a certain time, that I have to sign in by a certain time to reserve a bed to hold a spot for me. And I don't want that. And organizations such as yours, I know are doing the best you can do with whatever resources you have at your disposal to then have an outreach team to go out and try to convince individuals. I understand that those that are not the leaders of what's going on over there on the Parkway, but there are some individuals that's had a list of demands, and they're saying that, what they want is for their demands to be met. And if they're not met, they're not going to move. So it now becomes even more of a safety issue, because now we run the risk of people possibly either being forcefully moved, which we hope does not happen, and possibly incarcerated, which we really hope does not happen, all because they want the right to be able to have decent and fair housing.
Well, in addition to that, they also want to be heard.
Yes.
So from the standpoint of, it's really a protest. And we know that there have been people that have had sit-ins, they have had hunger strikes. There are different ways to protest. And one of the ways that these individuals have chosen to protest is by setting up these tents. And so they have that right, they have that freedom to do that. Now, what they're asking, or pretty much demanding, is that housing first. I mean, this is a philosophy that the city has embraced, and they're saying, stick to it. Provide permanent housing for those who need it. Because during COVID, congregate care setting is not the best place for anyone really to be, unless you have mitigation plans in place that allow social distancing. And we all know what happened with the nursing homes, because they did not have the social distancing. They did not have the mitigation plans in place that required people to stay inside and that type of thing. But when you're in a congregate setting, it's kind of difficult. One of the things that I'm proud to say about SELF is that early on, we set up mitigation plans. We set up what we called continuation of operation plans to ensure that not only our participants, but our team members and their families were kept safe, because it was just like automatic mode. The good thing is that we have a president and COO who has a master's in public health. So he knew exactly what needed to be done and just kind of made it happen. Like, these are the things that we need to start doing. Even made recommendations to the city about several things that they needed to do. One of the things that the city tried to make us do was to quarantine individuals in our sites. We told them we couldn't do that. Those who were tested, who were positive and showing symptoms, they wanted us to keep them in a site with everybody else. And it's like, we can't do that. We need you to come up with a space that's going to allow people to be able to quarantine for 14 days, because that cannot happen on our sites. Thankfully, with time and with negotiations and with talking, we were able to get them to come up with the Holiday Inn downtown. We also told the city that we have individuals who are over 60 with underlying medical conditions. They need to be removed out because they're some of the most vulnerable. That's been determined by the CDC. So, you know, again, conversations, and they provided us with the, or provided our homeless individuals and participants with the prevention space downtown. So that provides opportunities for those who are over 65 and those who have some kind of underlying medical condition like diabetes or high blood pressure, or, you know, any of the other things that individuals may have, and walking around, but they are not within a congregate setting so that they're more vulnerable to catch the COVID disease. So they are now, you know, placed and housed safely at the prevention site.
Okay. Wow, your organization is doing a lot of work, and they've been able to effectuate a lot of change, which is a wonderful thing.
Right, and I mean, one of the things that you see is that unless you push the envelope, a lot of times things don't happen. So I think that's what's happening down here at the Parkway. You know, unless you demand what you want, nobody's going to do anything. So it's just a matter of continuously having those conversations, continuously letting people know what it is that is needed so that they begin looking at things from a different lens, because we cannot continue to do things the same way, thinking that anything is going to change.
That is absolutely correct. If someone wanted to reach out to your organization or you, how would they do that?
What they can do is go to our website. It's www.selfincorp.org. That's selfincorp.org. They can also call 215-496-9610. That's 215-496-9610. And somebody will answer the phone and they can be in contact with me.
You guys are doing amazing work, absolutely amazing work. Would you mind giving me a few minutes?
Certainly, I don't have a problem with that.
So that I can ask of you, what do you see regarding the announcement that was made today, based on your experience for the school district, for the plan that they have for our children?
You have to enlighten me. I've been focused on getting a testing pilot draft done today, and I'm still working on it. So I did not hear the announcement. Well, give me an idea as to what they were talking about.
Well, what I can say is the plan is it's a very large document. I was trying to read it, but they are pushing for hybrid learning, the ability for parents to opt out to 100% digital/virtual learning. What concerned me was they made some points regarding distancing of 6 feet, of at least 6 feet, for a classroom of possibly 25 children. And you know the size of our classrooms. I mean, you've seen them from elementary, middle, and high school across the city. That's not going to happen.
No.
And that's not going to be possible.
And here's something that proves the point that I originally made. There have been advocates pushing for smaller class sizes for years. And now we're at the point where they're finally getting to the point where, oh, okay, we need smaller class sizes. It's truly interesting how until a demand is made, things will continue as they are. So to answer your question, how do I feel about that discussion and that decision? I think that we have to take into consideration that there are low income, poor, homeless individuals who may not be in a place to be able to homeschool or go 100% digital. One of the things that I see is that we were previously concerned about a school to prison pipeline. And now what I'm seeing is that we have to be more concerned about a school to prison to homeless pipeline. Because what's happening is that too many of our children are not being fully educated. I don't care what you think you're doing, school district. it's not happening the way it's supposed to happen. Our children are not being educated. And as a result, we're creating a second class, an underclass. We're creating in 10, 15 years, those people who are going to be the ones who are uneducated and unable to have the skill set needed to have a job. So we're setting our children up for failure at this point in time, because unfortunately, everyone is not learning the way they thought that this was going to pan out. It's not working correctly.
That is absolutely so true. I hope that I will be able to bring you and Sylvia back on when you both are available, because I know you're both very busy ladies.
Thank
So
you.
that we can continue to talk further about what's very important to us regarding education across the city, the state, and across the country. I appreciate you agreeing to come on the show.
It's my pleasure.
I think that the work you're doing is awesome. I want to be like you one day.
You are like me.
I'm trying. I'm really trying. It was a great pleasure speaking with you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And when you see me walking with my big dog around the neighborhood, just say hi, because
I will.
She's friendly. She's friendly.
Okay, no worries.
But people don't know we're neighbors. We're neighbors.
She may knock me down, but it's okay.
Yes. We have to get together when it's safe. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Have a great show.
Yes.
All right.
Now, family, we are about to bring on one, possibly two very powerful women that I had the pleasure of hearing. I didn't get to personally meet, but this past Sunday, my daughter and I, we decided to be a part of a rally that was very important. And when I tell you that while there, although it was extremely hot, the energy, the space, the excitement, the desire to effectuate change, the speakers that were powerful, and hopefully everyone listened and adhered to these messages, made me want to scramble and reach out to them and find them and ask them, can they please, if they have the time, come on this show so they can talk about what they've been doing, what they are doing, and what they are going to continue to do for our babies. Please allow me to welcome Ms. Keziah Ridgway. And hopefully, I hope she got on the call as well, Ms. Dana Carter. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm so excited. I have goosebumps. I'm so excited. When I tell you, I mean, I've been out there. I've been out there, one of those parents that demands change. I've been to the school district meetings. I've gone up to my school and, made some noise when I saw things that didn't sit right with me. But when I saw the two of you talking and speaking and just your passion, that was my daughter Mecca, who was 15. She attends Kappa. That was her first rally of such of that nature. Now, please tell us about yourselves. I mean, because I read your bios and I don't want to read it all, so I want you to please tell my audience, our audience at National Parents Union, what you do and who you are.
Okay, I guess I'll start first.
Yes.
My name is Keziah Ridgway. I am a member of Racial Justice Organizing Committee, and I am a teacher. I teach at Northeast High School, and I teach African American history and IB social and cultural anthropology.
Yes, Ms. Carter, you're next.
My name is Dana Carter. I am a member of Melanated Educators Collective and Racial Justice Organizing Committee. I started teaching in 2001. I left the district last year through that experience, I've taught overseas in Abu Dhabi. I've taught everywhere, and I'm just so dedicated to the children of the school district of Philadelphia. So that's why I came back home.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're back. And I'm
Thank
glad you're here.
Thank
Tell everyone that doesn't know, what is the significance of this week for you? Why is this week important?
Well, a few weeks ago, we actually got a message on our page, and someone was like, did we miss the Black Educators March? And so like I screenshot it and I put it in our group chat, and I was like, question mark. So we were like, this is gonna be a lot of work. I don't know if we can pull it off, but we just knew that it needed to happen because we have been following everything that's happening with Black at Masterman, Black Philly students, and with all of our students being separated prematurely from our buildings as a result of COVID. There was just like so much going on. And we were like, y'all, like, we got to do it.
We have to figure out something.
We got to figure it out. We got to make it happen. So we just started talking, and eventually we were like, all right, we're going to do it. And we reached out to a lot of different organizations like Black Lives Matter Philly and Bar We, building anti-racist white educators, and Philly Hub for Liberatory Academics, EBS. I'm trying to
Make sure we have all of our partners.
Yeah. I know we're forgetting.
Well, blame it to your head, not your heart. I know we saw who was out there.
Yeah.
But one thing that struck me, I shared what was going on. I was sharing on my live all through the march. I was sharing it, and one of my Facebook friends asked me, what did you think about it? And surprisingly for me, and I guess it's because I've been blessed with being able to send my daughter Mecca, who's now 15, from kindergarten through 8th grade. She went to predominantly Afrocentric schools. She went to Lotus Academy. She went to Sankofa Freedom Charter School. Shout out to them. Our younger children now, they go to Mercy Neighborhood Centers Face to Face. All those teachers predominantly Black. So I've never really been exposed to seeing a lot of white educators. And I was being honest about it. I said, that's something that I've never seen. I mean, my older sons, because of different types of roles that I've had, the different shifts that I've had to work, I wasn't really able to be a part of the school community the way I wanted to, because I was a single mom back then. But then when I got married and my husband and I made a choice, we're going to put our daughter in this kind of school because we feel that it will further supplement what we already started teaching her from birth. Seeing that, I was like, wow, I know we have Black educators. I know many Black educators, but out here, I felt like we were, like you guys were in the mind. I'm not an educator. I mean, although I educate my children from home, I'm not a teacher. That's what I call it, a teacher. And I saw all of you, and those that I saw, I was filled with such a sense of pride and joy at seeing that. I said, we need more. Absolutely need more. But we also have to be mindful, those teachers that are here, that are not teachers of color, they need to understand us more. They need to, I don't need your sympathy, but I need you to understand. Can you tell me, because we have until 5 o'clock. I asked, we have until 5 o'clock to get in deep. Yeah. So I would love for you to just, each of you tell me, what has been your experience in trying to make that happen?
It's been really hard. I think for many of us, the reason why we all came together originally under Melanated Educators Collective and Racial Justice Organizing was because we realized that there's such a disconnect for educators of color in the district. And a lot of times that disconnect leads us to leave. We decide, okay, we can't do it anymore. You know, a lot of times if you're the Black educator, they'll put you in positions where they give you like all the kids that need extra love and extra attention, or they might give you all the kids with exceptionalities, and it is very wearing and taxing on you to the point where you feel like overwhelmed and overworked, so you leave. And so that was like one of the 3 things that we wanted to address with Melanie the Educators Collective, which is like not just to hire but also retain Black and Brown and Indigenous educators. And with racial justice, we not only are pushing that lens, but we also just push the lens of like culturally competent and responsive curriculum. We're pushing that teachers have that training, anti-racist and bias training. And I don't want to talk too much. I want Dana to be able to jump in. We do have 10 demands that we like gave to the district. We, at the last school board, we all spoke, me and Dana spoke, as well as other members, and we said we're not asking anymore for you to do right by our kids. We're demanding it, and we're not going to stop.
Right. Just to piggyback on, well, I should say veggie on what Keziah was saying. Many of us have been in the district for a long time. I think I told you I started in 2001. And we fight because of our own experiences. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was a teacher at D in Allegheny. The Elkin was my school. I was a teacher who was running through the streets on my prep to go to the parents' houses, because that is a difficult community and the parents suffer from many ills, right? So just as the children need extra love, so do the parents. So we have to make sure that we have teachers that are in those communities that understand the ills of the particular neighborhoods that they're servicing. But because of what was required of me during those 5 years while I was at Elkin, I didn't realize how tired I was until I left America and I went to go teach over in Abu Dhabi, right? So I left overseas and I was like, wow, this is a breeze. That country is only 40 years old. But because I didn't realize how much stress that I was under every day, just trying to worry about the well-being of my students and their families and making sure that, that they were well taken care of curriculum-wise, you absolutely do get burned out. I left the district 3 times, and I've always came back because I'm so dedicated to the children of Philadelphia. But with that, because you are a chocolate teacher, you definitely will get the students who have behavioral issues. I was just on the phone with someone earlier today, and that was his experience too. He was at a school, and he was a learning support teacher, but he was absolutely used as a behavior teacher for all students, Black men. Wow. Anytime there was a fight, they will pull this man from his class to go and break up a fight. So do we understand, what that does to the school? Because now these children who are special needs students aren't getting their services because you're pulling your teacher away. But, along those same lines, as African American teachers, we get burnt out because they use us too much. I used to tell them, just give me the students with behavior issues in the beginning because you're going to give them to me in a month or 2. So it's just easier for me to have them in my classroom in the beginning so they don't have to go through the trauma of being in someone's classroom who doesn't care for them and then have to come back to my classroom and I have to love them up and build them back up. Just give them to me in the beginning. But it's a lot for teachers like myself and teachers like Keziah. So in order to alleviate some of that pressure on us, we definitely asked the district to really improve their recruitment and retention efforts for educators of color. So this is something that we've been demanding from the district for a long time. I personally met with Jerry Jordan about this because of the lack of African American teachers that I see in the school district of Philadelphia. As well as the Racial Justice Organizing Committee and Melanie the Educators Collective work directly with the School District of Philadelphia just to get some things in place in order to make sure that we increase those numbers. So first we got them to publish the racial data on the School District of Philadelphia website, and that was a fight. But in order for us to establish that there is a critical need, we first had to make the public aware of the racial disparities in the School District of Philadelphia. Additionally, we had to pull Jerry Jordan on the carpet because of the lack of racial balancing of the schools. When I went to schools, and even when my nephew went to school, the schools were racially balanced. If there was a teacher who was African American and she was needed at school X, Y, and Z, that's where the teacher went because the school needed an African American teacher. They let that language get removed from the contract, I believe within the past 10 years or so. So the schools, you'll go to a school and you see only one Black teacher. I remember being the only Black teacher, or the only one in my building, or definitely I was always the only one in my grade group. So what can we do? So we partnered with the School District of Philadelphia because the goal is to get a teacher pipeline established at our high schools, similarly to how they have a pipeline for different trades and medical professions and business, like how they have at FOC. We're going to put the children of Philadelphia onto a teacher track. And with that, we're going to partner with area HBCUs, but the students who are afforded the opportunity to go to those HBCUs at a reduced price will have to come back to the School District of Philadelphia and make a commitment to teach there for a number of years. So this is definitely a goal of MEC as well as the Racial Justice Organizing Committee. It's just that these particular things take a long time. But what we needed to do is bring awareness to the community that this is definitely an issue. There are teachers, there are African American teachers, there are African American certified teachers with master's degrees and all this other stuff. But we are never going to get them in the School District of Philadelphia if the stories of how teachers are treated continue to get out in the public. Like, I'm not going to bring anybody into the district for them to get abused. I have to make sure that the School District of Philadelphia is in a place where it's a safe working and learning environment. Just like we don't want our students to be abused, we don't want our teachers to be abused. We want our teachers to feel comfortable speaking up about injustices. Because when their voices are silenced and when the students' voices are silenced, is when we see these injustices and this racism and this oppression that's happening at Central and Masterman. And I'm sure at Girls High, we both graduated from Girls High, so we know that these stories exist. So
everywhere, really, everywhere. Right. No place is safe.
I could definitely tell you that having someone at a school that looks like me helped me tremendously. You know, even back when, as early as second grade, my second grade teacher, Sister Veronica Paul, African American teacher, middle school, high school, the high school I went to, I didn't go to school in Philadelphia, I went to school in North Jersey. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing this today to commemorate a special day, Passaic High School, Passaic, New Jersey. We were blessed with having many African American teachers, some Latino teachers, and some white teachers. So we had a mix. It was a mix, but we were able to always say, there's somebody that looks like me, that can relate to me, that can understand me, that I can, shadow and model and say, hey, I want to be a teacher too. How did you do it? And that person would take them under their wing. I know many other people that I went to high school with ended up in a teaching profession because of that. Not only that it was, a family generational tradition that they became teachers, but because they also had teachers along the way throughout their educational process that help them, that they can emulate and say, I want to be just like them. If they can do it, I can do it. And I think that every child still has a right to have teachers that look like them. And I guess that's why the teachers that the education that my daughter has had, her educational career track, she experienced sort of a culture shock from having 100% all Black teachers every day for years to going to what's considered one of, a school that she had to audition to be a part of, which is Kappa in South Philly. She told me as we were walking away from the rally on Sunday, she said, Mom, there are not a lot of Black teachers at my school.
I mean, the statistics are crazy when you think about it. Within the district, if you combine the Hispanic, which they don't separate between Afro-Latino and white Latino. So if you combine the Hispanic and the Black populations, you're almost at 70%. You're almost at 70%. In terms of staff demographics, white teachers make up 67% of the teaching force. and Black teachers only make up, I believe it's 24%. So
Wow.
when you look at those numbers, you know, something is absolutely wrong. And I think also part of it is like, I'll have like a lot of Black kids come into my class and they'll say stuff like, oh, y'all don't make a lot of money. I'm like, why you say that? They're like, my teacher who's not Black always complaining that they're broke and they don't make enough money. And I was like, listen, let me explain something to you. Our pay is not commiserate to our education, but we're not broke as teachers. So I need teachers also to stop telling kids that we're broke. Because what that does is it makes kids say, you know, especially for Black, Afro-Latino, Latino kids that had to get it out the paint, you know, born and raised in North Philly like me, you know, when you hear somebody say that this profession is making you, you know, this profession, you're going to be broke, then they're going to be like, no, like, why would, I've already struggled my whole life. Why would I go into that profession? You understand what I'm saying? So like, we definitely need to do a better job. Like, okay, number one, we're not broke, you know, this teaching is still a way to make it into the middle class. However, we're not paid what we're worth. And so as teachers, we have to do a better job with advocating for what we're worth. And so that's why it's so important for Dana and I and the other teachers that we're with. We call ourselves abolitionist educators. You know, we're not in the classroom trying to teach you A, B, C, and D. We're in the classroom, we're educating, we're advocating, and that is what's so important for us to do. And we don't want to just speak up for like just children, like, you know, children in general education classes, but we're also talking about children that have exceptionalities. We also talk about children that are in the LGBTQ community, because it's important that we're not just focusing on, you know, what our children may be, but what all of our children may be. And that's why, like, you know, for somebody like me, yes, I'm a public education teacher. I have a son that's coming into public education. I have kids in charter schools. But for me, that's why I fight so hard, because I see what my kids have in their charter school, and all kids should have it. You know, so if you're advocating for just charter schools, what you're advocating for is to leave whole sections of children behind that their parents may not have the knowledge to apply for that school. Their parents may not know how to advocate for themselves. So as a teacher, I have to do that. It is my duty to do that, because I grew up in the public education system and I know what it's like to just leave kids behind.
Absolutely. So speaking of parents, I am a firm believer of creating a partnership with my children's teachers. I have all the respect for those teachers that reach out to me, not just on the back to school night and not just on report card night, but actually from the first day of school, that they either give me a phone call or send me an email or ask for my phone number or my email so that we can have that communication. I love those kinds of teachers, because one thing that I realized is if parents have a good relationship with their children's teachers, that child is a successful child. Right. That child is not one of the ones that will then be the one that's, you know, has a lot of disciplinary issues, because they know they can reach mom. Miss Ridgway could call Miss Gertie and let her know what's going on. Miss Carter could call Miss Gertie and let her know what's going on. And Miss Gertie's not going to fly off the handle and be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? No, we talk. And I would tell my children that. I would tell Richard that. Richard, I talked to your kids when he was in Frankfurt High School. I talked to your teachers. Yes. When he was attending Fin Letter, I talked to his teachers. Yes. When Elijah was in his schools, you know, Mecca in her school, we talk, you know, if you're able to, talk to them. And it's not just about the parents that are able to go to every single parent-teacher conference, because a lot of parents have different kinds of jobs that enable them not to do it. But if you at least have that line of communication, your child will have a better opportunity to get that well-deserved education from that teacher like yourselves that wants to do it for them.
Absolutely.
So what can we as parents do to help what you are fighting for? Because I'm with it. I'm with it.
I always tell parents that they have to be a little bit more vigilant about, being more involved in their students' educational path now, because the village isn't teaching your children anymore. You know what I mean? Right now, it might be a white Trump supporter from Montgomery County. But so when you think about that, you have to put it in context when you are getting these calls about behavior or your child can't read, right? One of the biggest issues about who's teaching our kids is who is teaching our kids. You understand what I mean? So that's something that we really have to analyze. Brown versus Board of Education, people look at it as, something that was so successful for the African American community. But what people don't understand is that we lost 33,000 African American teachers as a result of Brown versus the Board of Education. The village stopped teaching our kids at that moment. So you have to be involved in the educational process. And you are what I consider to be a whole parent, right? But what teachers have to consider is that every parent isn't whole, Parents have issues that they're dealing with. We have parents that have mental illness, that have drug addictions, that are living in abusive situations, right? So we have to make sure that is something that we consider when we pick up the phone, and the parent might not call us right back, or the parent might not reply immediately to the email, because some of these parents are dealing with issues, and those issues are why the children act the way they do in the classroom, right? So we can't then condemn these parents to whatever because they're not being as responsive as we want. What we need to do, and I know everybody's not cut out like me, but when I was teaching in Kensington and my parents weren't responding, I went to the parents' homes on my prep period. Like, what's going on? You didn't get my phone call? And I think sometimes, depending on the community that where you teach, that extra effort is needed. So I think that parents absolutely have to be involved. Parents need to know how to advocate for their children. Parents need to be able to read the assessments, because so many of our children are leaving school district of Philadelphia schools and they can't read, right? So if the children can't read when they leave the schools, what is their future? But the parents aren't finding this out until the 9th, 10th, 11th grade. If they understood how to read the assessments or the effect of the child being on an A reading level and they're in the 3rd grade, then they can better advocate for their children. So that's why we're here. In addition to supporting the community and the teachers and the students, we also want to support the parents as much as possible.
And racial justice organizing is also open to parents. It's really important for us to get parents in activist roles as much as possible. And Dana actually has a parent organization as well. There's the Philadelphia Home and School, which was another one of our sponsors, and that president is Shakita Gaines. And, making sure that you're involved in Philadelphia Home and School, joining racial justice organizing committee, as much as possible, try to just be involved and just tap in. We want, as a teacher, I want to work with parents. My goal is to empower not just my students, but also their parents, so that they know the options that they have available for their child, and also so they know what's going on. There's so many things happening inside the school, and a lot of times our kids, my students will come up to me and they'll say, "Ms. Ridgway, this happened. Ms. Ridgway, this happened." I'm like, look, y'all know I'm in the union, right? So this is what I need to do, right? Go, your parents are your best advocate. Go talk to your parents. But then you have our Afro-Latino students, or our Latino students, or our ESL students that English may not be their first language. A lot of times their parents are scared, or there's a language barrier, or they're like, look, we're here, we're in the process of getting our paperwork. So I'm not trying to do anything to jeopardize that. And they feel like if I come up to the school and advocate for my child, it may have an adverse effect on them becoming citizens. Or
and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
No.
And I tell people, and I tell people, and I say it all the time, if there's an issue, if there's a problem, and you have a fear or you're not able to, I'll be your voice. I've been blessed with having the kinds of jobs in the past where I was able to go to the school district. I was able to go to the school. I used to work for a charter organization. I had worked for Mastery. My son Elijah graduated from Gratz. I worked in Camden, Mastery Schools of Camden. I was one of those people out there helping build parent leaders. So it's not even just about building them up, it's about getting to know them and establishing that relationship so they can have enough trust to say, I'm having an issue, but because of either my language barrier or because I'm working 2 and 3 jobs to support my family, I can't get up there.
Yep.
So I'm here. And we put our information out there. That's what, you know, National Parents Union, we're here to be that voice for those that feel that they don't have a voice, that they can't speak. And you know, and that's what it's all about. And you ladies, you're doing a tremendous job. I mean, it's and I looked more into it, and I want you to please touch upon for a few minutes. We are going to talk about that announcement that was made earlier today, but talk a few minutes about what else is going to be happening this week, because this week it's an entire week. It wasn't just one day. What else is going on?
So we actually we turned it into 2 weeks because a lot of people are just like, yo, like, you know, let me tap in, like, what can I do? So like today, Dr. Height was on at 3 p.m. and folks were, you know, asked to share your concerns about COVID or share your demands inside that chat. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, I'm down on the other one. Tomorrow, we have an action where we're asking folks to read about the Burke's Detention Center.
Yeah.
And then follow them on IG, follow their demands and lift that up. Contact Governor Wolf, ask him to issue an ERO for ICE to stop using this facility. On Friday, it's Fun Friday, take a selfie, make a post, and let us know about one demand you support. Tag us at Racial Justice Philly on Instagram or on Facebook, and also we're on Twitter, Philly_RJ, and also asking a friend to support demands. Next week, we're going to have a Facebook Live on Sunday to launch the next week. On Monday, we have a sample letter that you can copy and paste and send to Senator Casey and Senator Toomey, asking them to pass the HEROES Act. On Tuesday, tweet a school board member, ask them to support our demands. On Wednesday, we coming back to Height.
Yep.
Chat box. On Thursday, Sunday also, we're asking people to sign up to the school board. That's another thing. Parents, please sign up to the school board. Get your children to sign up to speak at the school board. The next meeting is July 23rd. I will put the link in the comments. But
wait, don't forget Saturday, the PSU, Stand Up for Police Free Schools.
Yes. Do you know more about that one, Dana?
Yeah, we're doing an action with PSU, Stand Up for Police Free Schools. They have a petition.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? They have the petition, and we're going to share the petition and get people to sign for it.
Please share that with me, because we'd be happy to share that information as well.
Yes.
Yeah. You ladies are not only being seen in Philly, you know that, right?
Yes.
I'm talking about from Massachusetts all the way to California,
yes.
Washington State. We have, you know, we're wide.
Yes.
Our you know, our reach is wide, thank goodness. So all these things that you're saying, all these things, all these actions that are happening, my hope is that you're also encouraging other teachers,
yes,
other parents,
yes,
to do the same thing, because we're seeing now that, because unfortunately has taken a pandemic to make some people wake up and take notice. The school plan, the hybrid situation, going to school 2 days a week.
It actually had to take a man getting killed by the police with having their beat on his neck for 9 minutes in order to really wake up the world. And because we were in a pandemic, and then we saw that, people could not react. Like at this point, we changing everything.
How do you feel about the plan for when? Because like I said earlier, Ms. Carter, you didn't get a chance to be on the initial before we went on live. I'm going to be working at a district school very soon, so I'm also very concerned about the safety issue, and I'm going to be the first person that children and parents and teachers see every morning. So I'm just curious, what, you know, do you think it'll work with the social distancing? I mean, you know, teenagers are like very affectionate, very huggy, very kissy, and they want everybody to stay apart. And then the little ones, you know, I have preschoolers, I have a rising first grader. I don't know how that's gonna work. And they, you know, to tell a child, do not hug your friend, do not hug your teacher. Do not stand next to your friend or your teacher. How do you ladies, how are you mentally preparing yourselves for that?
So what I will say is
I was
that
about to say, because I just won't give you the politically correct answer, because my answer is that everything is intentionally messed up so the state can come and shut it down. But because I is going to tell you.
what I will say is I'm thinking about first responders, right? I'm thinking about a lot of parents that have to be on the front lines and they have to be out of the home every single day. And so their primary concern is childcare and like, what am I going to do with my children, right? And then on the other hand, you have, teachers that are immunocompromised and they cannot be inside a classroom. So I think this plan was to say, we have people in all these different groups. And if we go all virtual, there's going to be an onslaught of criticism because you have parents that need to work and are essential workers, right? And they're like, what can I do with my kid if I can't send them to school? If you go to all in person, then there's going to be an onsite. A lot of us teachers don't want to be into the classroom because we might have people who are immunocompromised. We may have asthma. Our children may have asthma. We could be at high risk, right? If you do a hybrid, it's trying to service these different camps. And I think at the end of the day, the fact that the mayor of our city canceled events until 2021, the spring of 2021, I believe. But for a school like mine that has 3,200 kids, even if you cut that in half, you're looking at what, 1,700 kids?
Right.
That's still well above what the city is suggesting for congregating. So I think what will probably end up happening is that the governor may have to just step in and say, none of this is going to work and we're going to be right back at square one. Because we know that, because a lot of people say, well, y'all just planned the march and there was hundreds of people there and y'all are teachers. And I know y'all not complaining, but what people don't understand is the spread is happening indoors. Yeah. That is where the spread is happening. Yeah. There has been no link to a increase of COVID-19 after a protest. So the reality is, if you could have school outside, like school outside scenario, because you don't have that recycled air. But we're in a lot of us have old buildings. We just got new windows, but guess what? Our windows, you can't pull them up. You have to pull them down like that, so the air goes up, but it barely comes through. The ventilation is poor, so that design wasn't really thought through completely. So I think what's probably going to end up happening is we might end up back at square one, which is where we were March 13th, 2020.
Yes.
It was my suggestion that the district really work on solidifying a virtual learning plan over the summer, because it's just my feeling that we're just going to keep having this back and forth until there's a vaccine for COVID. So if the school district of Philadelphia, and I know, like, if they really worked on it, they can definitely have a plan that will service all learners. And we know that because there are 50 districts in the state of Pennsylvania that have virtual learning programs, which are approved by the state. The school district of Philadelphia is just not one of those districts, right? So over the summertime, they could have been working towards that in order to make sure that they can service the goal, the learning goals of all children. Additionally, if the governor is going to come and say that everything has to be virtual, he definitely, or somebody has to provide some sort of services for the parents who have to stay home with their children. We can't just say you can stay home, you have to stay home, it's going to be 100% virtual, and these parents can't work. How do you expect for them to eat? I mean, the unemployment system is absolutely ridiculous. People call for weeks and weeks at a time. They're going right, and you can't get through. So what parents need to do is feel secure that they won't starve this upcoming school year if they have to stay home with their children. The School District of Philadelphia did say there's an opt-in program for this process, but I didn't hear anything about them continuing those EBT cards that they had for the children, right? So how are the kids going to eat during the school day? Is that still going to be something that's provided? So there needs to be some sort of provisions for the parents who you know. Go ahead, Keziah.
I was gonna say this just underscores why voting is really important.
Yes,
And
girl.
Ooh,
I
ladies,
know,
voting.
I know it's hard, right? Like, because as somebody that is not, like, I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican, right?
Right.
And a lot of times I make choices based on who I think is the right candidate. So if it's an independent, if it's a Green Party, if it's a, that's who I want to vote for because it aligns with myself. But the reality is there are a lot of folks that don't vote, and I understand that. I understand why they don't want to vote, but when you don't vote, that also means that people in local elections, your local elections, which I would argue is really, really important, you don't get those people in place, right? So you don't get those state senators in place who decides that budget, right? Because that budget on a state level, we get a lot of our money from there as a city, right? So you don't get those people in place. The mayor, we have a Democratic mayor. But these things are really important. And when you think about Trump, right? I'm not gonna talk to my people, our BIPOC people, because we voted overwhelmingly for the candidate that we thought financially would be best for us. So I'm gonna speak to the people that keep voting against their better economic interests. I'm gonna need y'all to stop, and I'm gonna need y'all to get it together. And y'all need to vote, because right now we have somebody that's in power that does not care about people, that only cares about property and money. And when that is the law and rule of your government, you get the chaos that we have now. It did not have to be this way. Our country did not have to be the leader.
Ladies, if only you knew. We just launched, National Parents Union just launched it last Friday. Our campaign, Every Family Votes.
That's right.
Yes.
So y'all gonna see a lot more of me.
We'll
Y'all gonna
share
hear a lot more from me. We're gonna share information.
Yeah.
We're gonna be wherever you are. If you need a voice, you need a mom, you need a parent, let me know. Because I'll be there to speak as a parent. I'll be there to speak.
And a translator.
A translator, yes. Because
Yes.
yes. And I was like, I'm over there. I was like, I wanted to say something for you guys. But, that time will come. When
Yes.
you
Right.
just let me know. Let me know. And I'll be happy to speak on behalf of parents. I want to let you both know that I really appreciate you saying yes to me on such short notice without even knowing me. I was just like, maybe she'll say yeah, because I told her, hey, my son Richard. It's a small world. It's a very small world.
Yes.
Because I was like, oh, the minute you said, and I work at Northeast High School, I said, maybe she knows my son. And my son was like, oh yeah, I know Miss Ridgway. I know her. So I appreciate the both of you coming on here. Do not be surprised if someone else from our organization reaches out to you as well to be on another show. Because you have a lot to offer, a lot to give, a lot of insight, and parents, we need to hear from teachers as well. We want to be safe. I want you ladies to be safe. We want all of our coworkers, our children, the support staff, everybody. I mean, I put a post out there and said, okay, everybody wants to be safe, but what about the support staff? What about the counselors, the nurses, the custodians, the school secretaries, the peace officers if they have it at the school? Everyone that's involved needs to be safe. And my desire and my hope is that everyone continues to be safe and able to get the education that they absolutely deserve. You are two tremendous ladies. I hope to continue to establish a very wonderful working relationship with you from this point forward. Have a wonderful and blessed afternoon, and we will talk soon. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
family.
you.
My time is wrapping up. Every family votes. Please remember that. I'm going to put my logo up next week. You're going to see it. You're going to see our t-shirts. You're going to see our information. Parents' Bill of Rights. Look at it. I'll put it on my Facebook page. Look for that. We demand equitable education. We deserve equality when it comes to our education. We deserve to acknowledge and honor those hardworking teachers that are doing their jobs and understand our babies. Keep it going, ladies. Have a good evening. Be blessed. Goodbye, National Parents Union. Have a good night.